Good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Off the Rails. I am Woo Woo J Train, aka Jason, and this is going to be the final stream of the preseason festivities. I have a very special guest tonight. It feels very fitting for me to have him on and be able to stream with him. He was gracious enough to have me on after only knocking out a couple streams, and I had an amazing time with him. You can find him on X at D4RKSH33P_. Also a contributor on the Stacking Dingers channel over on YouTube. Make sure to check him out there. But Dark Sheep is joining us tonight. Hello, Sheep. How you doing, man? Thank you for coming in.
Hey, yeah, this is excellent. This is nice way to circle around because like one of my first streams this season, you joined me, and now I'm joining you at the end. I don't have to host. I was thinking about hosting tonight, and then you sent me this message, and so I just get to hang out, be along for the ride.
I'll try to make it A, worth your while, and B, an enjoyable experience not having to host. You can just kind of relax, and we'll have a good time here. So I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of look at our exposures and just kind of talk about our journeys we've drafted all season. I think specifically we'll look at the Dinger, just the main contest. But I want to share kind of some of my guys, get your thoughts. Feel free to roast away. I don't take myself too seriously, so you can call me a donkey. I don't care. We've got Ben, our guy Ben from Detroit is here. Now Sheep can live a little. Yeah, he gets to just chill.
Yeah. I'm always living. Just my version is different.
Just chill. Wu-Tang Killer Bees. How's it going, man? Thank you for coming in. I'm working on getting my screen shared here for everybody. And let's do... There we go. All right. So here are my exposures for just the regular season contest in general. But let's look at the Dinger specifically. And we'll take a look at pitchers. So I'm with Nez on the Grayson Rodriguez thing. He just has that profile to just absolutely go crazy. And I feel like every year this happens where we have these like hot new prospects and we fall in love with the hot new prospects. And then the next year, it's like their second year and like nobody cares. Everybody wants Wyatt Langford now. So I feel like Grayson's one of those dudes who had a tremendous amount of hype last year and has the profile to be an absolutely dominant pitcher. And I'm just banking on the breakout. So,
yeah, absolutely. When we go over to mine, you'll see him right up there towards the top of mine. One, I like the, obviously I like the pedigree and, the good parts of last year, but two, I liked, how much he actually pitched last year, which is a good sign for his volume this year. As well as he's not like a super flashy guy. Like comparing him to Yuri Perez, like just the way that he throws compared to Perez, like I see his body holding up better. Like just and he's a bigger guy and just like everything about him like screams workhorse to me.
Yeah, and he pitches in a pretty solid ballpark, especially for righties. Lefties, it's better for lefties for sure. Hitters, but the Orioles are probably going to contend this year, and if they do, and if they're like, kind of one of the top 3 seeds in the AL, it's probably going to be in large part because he's had a really good season. So, I felt good about having him as my highest exposed pitcher. Tanner Bybee just always kind of seemed to be there, later in the draft. I kind of view him as like a Chris Bassett type. I don't know that he'll throw as many innings as Bassett will, but, kind of a strikeout per inning guy. Felt just kind of like a safe pick. I've been on Rodon since the very beginning. He just feels like the guy who has the profile to just absolutely nuke you if you completely fade him. And he has that like 2021, 2022 season. Yuri Perez, I was drafting a lot of him and obviously had to back off with the elbow thing. So hopefully he's fine. But a couple other good youngsters in here. Gavin Williams also kind of tweaked his elbow, but not like in the same way that Yuri Perez did. Hunter Green, massive strikeout potential. Bobby Miller, kind of a breakout guy. So you're gonna see kind of the archetype of guys that I have primarily are just mega strikeout per 9 guys, and that was kind of my philosophy with pitching this year.
Yeah, a lot of crossover on your list. Not so much Bybee or Rodon, and like Nick Lodolo there. I was out on kind of early when we first started getting signs that he hasn't really recovered from the injuries last year. Hopefully that he comes back and is fine. But yeah, I don't have any futures yet. Not
No
really in a place to do
sign
those.
on features on Grayson. Brad, no, you've not missed the biceps talk. We haven't talked about King Tyler O'Neill yet. We might talk about Wyatt too, but we'll see. Let's see. Oh, this Gosman number, I really ramped this up at the end of my drafts. He was falling because of the shoulder thing, and I don't feel like he recovered in ADP, so he felt like a discount in pretty much every draft. So I don't really like taking, single digit pitchers, meaning like, third, fourth round guys. But Gosman just felt like I needed to kind of catch the knife,
Yeah, depending on what projections you're looking at, he was, number 2 or number 3 and, points overall projected for the whole season. So when you get him down with, Castillo and Wheeler, he's going in that same group. It definitely made sense to pounce there. I did the same thing.
Yeah, it just, it felt right. So, pretty flat at pitcher, and that was intentional. Just the pitching injuries. The Blake Snell number is actually lower than I thought it would be. I felt like he was mispriced for a very good portion of draft season because he was unsigned. Came in right at the field on Spencer Strider. I feel good about that. But I really tried to flatten out with pitching because I don't know. I just can't deal with the rash of pitching injuries. And usually pitching injuries are not like, oh, he's just going to miss, he's on the 2-week IL. It's like, oh, his elbow exploded, so we'll see him in 2 years. So that was kind of my philosophy with pitching this year. I did get a little more concentrated, but still very spread out at infield. Matt Chapman and Rhys Hoskins wound up being my 2 highest owned infielders, and Vinny was right behind them. And you're going to see a lot of guys in like the infield 50 to 60 range. I just kept drafting the same guys late and just hoping that I hit on them. This Francisco Alvarez number, I'm sad because they signed JD Martinez, so there goes his DH at bats. So I don't like that as much anymore. But
JD Martinez is also how many years old, and he's guaranteed. He's guaranteed a few rest weeks.
That's true, and I'm hoping it's like they time his rest for like when they want to give Alvarez like DH at bats or whatever, right? So hopefully he doesn't lose too many at bats. So I mean, we're getting him in the last round basically. So whatever.
And like JD's prime to get moved too, if they come out struggling like last year.
That's true. Yeah. And if he's performing well and a contender needs a bat, that's a very good point. Another last round guy that I was clicking a lot is Brandon Lau. I just can't stop believing that 2021 season he had was real. It's kind of like my Yohan Moncada, where he had like one amazing year, and I just keep locking in on that. Can't stop clicking him.
It's all health there, and that was not. There are so many other infielders. I did not feel like taking that risk. I don't know if I have any, maybe 1 or 2.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. But again, pretty spread out. I was not drafting Josh Naylor at all, and then Nez convinced me that I probably should. So getting up to 12.5% on him is actually like, I can't believe that.
That's when I'm on the opposite side from him on. So
Yeah, I'm not like a nailer guy, but I just felt like I kept clicking on the same guys in that same range. I'm like, all right, let's diversify this a little bit. So,
I'm very light overall on Cleveland, just not an
yeah,
offense that I had any love of.
Naylor's pretty much the only one that I drafted. Yeah,
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
on the offense at
Looking
least.
here quick, I have Andres Jimenez at 9%, but that and Ramon Laureano at 7% as a last round outfield flyer. But other than that, I'm pretty much out.
Yeah, I couldn't do the Ramon Laureano thing again. He was I think he was my highest owned outfielder last year, and I'm sure you can
Ouch.
imagine how well that went for
Yeah,
me.
I know. As good as my Brandon Woodruff went last year.
Yeah. And then outfield, Mike Trout wound up being my highest owned outfielder, and then Chris Bryant and Eloy Jimenez. I really love guys who don't play baseball. Apparently, they're just on the IL, just hanging out. So
That is a trio.
yeah,
A good trio.
that's something. That's something. Uh, Yikes. But Kerry Bonds, I'm actually surprised I was this heavy on him. He was just kind of always there at the end of drafts. How much? I mean, I'll pull yours up in a minute. But how much carry did you have?
Oh, I don't know if I have any. Don't
Really
tell. Don't
interesting.
tell. Don't tell the chat.
I won't. No,
Um,
they'll definitely come for you.
just I don't know, a lefty platoon guy that in a offense that I don't know had a lot of questions for me still this year. I know there's some hype on them, but I don't know. I could be way wrong on that one.
Yeah, he feels like the type of guy who could like you luck into him playing for a week and he just happens to hit like 4 home runs. I mean that's it. That's like the best case scenario I think with this format. Brad's got 0 carry. He's asking how much Mike Trout Jr. I have. This is this is going to hurt. All right, this is going to be kind of miserable. First off, I do want to point out I did condense my ownership in the first round. I've got 17.9% Tatis and 14.3% Judge.
Very
I
nice.
don't know that I have a single Julio share. That's horrifying, but I just prioritizing Tatis over him and Carroll. So very little of those guys.
Yeah, I almost all out on Carroll.
Yeah. It just feels too expensive. I did draft him a couple times and like did some mega Arizona stacks, and they were one of my favorite offenses to stack. Rip Garrett Mitchell. You know, sometimes guys you flag plant on an outfielder who may not play every day or may not be good, and then they fracture their hand and it winds up blowing up in your face. Sometimes that happens. It's just
as much as you're talking about him, I kind of expected a higher number, so I think that could be worse.
It could definitely be worse. I mean, 12.5% might as well be like 68% because nobody else. I feel like nobody else is drafting him.
Right.
But whatever. I did get Nolan Jones up to 11%. We're just going to keep scrolling, and eventually we'll get to Wyatt Langford at 7.1%. Brad is probably just laughing from his yacht. How much Wyatt did you wind up with?
Let's see. 13%.
Okay. So
I
you
definitely,
me, basically.
I did get pretty aggressive on Texas after I got back from my trip and started drafting again. So I was part of the problem. I was taking him at like 40. I was like taking Seager in the second round and, trying to get Semien to come back and then, putting Wyatt ahead of Evan Carter for sure. But also trying to get maybe those get 3 of those 4 together there at the end. Mostly just because Corey Seager is one of my favorite players, and I was ashamed that I got afraid and fell off taking him. So I had to get back up.
I was disappointed with where my Seager exposure wound up. I wanted to have a lot more of his. I'm gonna switch my screen real quick, and I'm going to show you guys Sheep's exposures. His are much easier to see because they're not in I just took a screenshot of it. So thank you for making my life easier. I just need to. Oh, no.
I actually made that on accident. I tweeted out, the separate positions, and somehow I made a Twitter link that put them all together into one graphic. So
Okay.
you don't have to be good at technology, just lucky sometimes.
Why isn't it letting me do what I want? I might just have to do the audio version because for some reason I can't get my tab to share. So let's just do this. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties on my end. We'll cover like the top 15-ish or so. So you had Shota Imanaga at 36, Grayson at 22, Bryce Miller at 22, Zach Eflin at 20, then Bobby Miller, Fott, Hunter Brown, Yusei Kikuchi, Gilbert Musgrove, Bieber, who I have virtually none of, Seth Lugo, your guy. Don't know if you like that or not, but Seth Lugo is your guy. Then Walker Buehler, Freddie Peralta, and Frankie Montas, who I didn't get as much of as I would like. So,
all right, I do think I have my screen shared.
Do you? Okay.
If you want to add that.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Appreciate you helping me out. See, this is why you should host. So, see all of Sheep's exposures here, but you were pretty flat too for the most part, and as far as the position players specifically. But it doesn't look like we went too all in on anybody other than Shota is your highest owned guy. So was that a strategic decision, or was it just kind of how things played out for you?
When he sat at 140, 150 for the last up until the last 3 weeks, like I was just taking him there. He to me was one of the best question marks. And the price matched. Like I had no idea what he was going to do in the majors, or in the U.S. right, and like even now, he gave up a decent amount of base runners in spring, and a bunch of strikeouts. So like all the questions are still there, but where he was going, I just felt like he could either be going, 10 rounds earlier next year if things turned out right. And he was one of the few guys in that area that was there. So I just kept taking him as long as he was there. And that number came down quite a bit when I started drafting again, because, I had so much and he was going, 20, 30 picks earlier than where I was getting him. So yeah, that was definitely a strategic decision early. And I would say that in general, some of these numbers flattened out from, before the break and coming back, just because ADPs had quite shifted a bunch. So there's definitely a new set of targets that I was liking at cost. So ended up being a lot flatter than I had anticipated, a month ago.
Yeah, me too. I thought that like Rhys Hoskins has been like one of my guys from the beginning, and I thought I was going to be much heavier on him than I wound up being. But I think that's one of the, maybe at least for me, kind of the natural effects of drafting since November is like it ebbs and flows. It evolves, the ADPs drop, they increase, you get new information in spring training, you adjust to news. So I think that's one of the reasons why I wound up so flat, is just because just kind of the landscape just kept changing, and there were just new targets that I wanted to get in that I hadn't yet. So I see Seager is your second highest infielder. I love that. That's a really solid number. It sounds like you wanted a little bit more, but 23% is a pretty solid number.
Yeah, that came up quite a bit at the end here, and Machado too. Machado, Seager, and Vinny P were kind of my risers at the end here into this. We did that show with Jared on Stacking Dingers, and he sold me on Vinny.
Yeah, I've kind of been in on him. Like when you look at baseball's sheet with the projections, Vinny wasn't the highest projected infielder in his range necessarily, but I just kind of buying into the likelihood of him exceeding his median projection higher than those other guys around him, I guess was my line of thinking.
And I think he settled into a spot where I had been taking pitcher before, and the pitchers moved up that I liked, moved up out of his range recently. So I was taking him instead of pitchers I didn't like.
Yeah, and the Machado thing, he's a guy that I wish I had more of, but he was always in this range of pitchers that I really, really liked. So it wasn't necessarily a fade of Machado as the player. It was more of a structural decision for me to not get him or not force him in as much as I would have liked. I might regret that, but
yeah, and maybe I'm underselling his age. I think he's 31 now. But like to me, he is a caliber of hitting that was going at the end of the second round. So
yeah,
at his peak, and which how far is he removed from his peak? I don't know, but like for me, like comparing him to Rafael Devers for example, like last year, that was a decision that people were making. Comparing him to Austin Riley, obviously, Riley's younger, Riley's on a better offense, but last year that was a decision people were making. So, once we got signs that Manny was healthy from the surgery in spring, like it didn't make any sense to me that he was going 30 picks after those guys. Like he should have been, 10 picks after those guys, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's gotten sidled with this like injury prone thing now, just from like last year, which I don't necessarily think is fair.
I also think people don't like him.
Yeah, that's probably very accurate. Brad with a comment here in the chat about how he avoided the catcher situations, just a personal choice from being burnt past years. For the most part, I did the same, but I did. You and I were pretty much the same on William Contreras. You were at 16 and I was at 17. He just feels like a guy who's just not ever going to lose at bats. So I felt okay with that.
Yeah. He's the, I don't want to say the best. He could be the best bat on the Brewers this year.
Yeah.
So
potentially now that Garrett Mitchell's down. So, anybody else in the infielders list that you wanted to kind of highlight or talk about?
And I just unabashedly love Will Smith. Something about his childlike feature. No, just watching. I end up watching a lot of West Coast baseball after my family goes to bed. Okay. So I end up stacking the Dodgers on Underdog often. So, I end up watching a lot of Dodgers games, flipping around on West Coast stuff. And I don't know, I just love him. And like, I know it's probably not smart. He's not going to DH much, but he's going to bat fourth, fifth in that lineup 6 days out of the week. And like, that's just not something I want to give up. And like, you'll see Max Muncy there, just like, I know people are down on him too, but just getting James, looking at those outfielders, the Teoscar and who have a fair bit amount. And I guess I even have some James Outman. You'll find that I'm really quite low on Freddie and Mookie this year, where they were like always stands for me last year and the year before, because I thought they were undervalued. But this time I just like, you can see over there on the outfield, I got Ohtani peaking there at the bottom, but I spent a lot more on just like the ancillary pieces, just assuming that offense is going to go off. The prices on the other stuff might not be what they should be. That's kind of something I learned or thought last year. looking at like the success of the Atlanta stacks, like they succeeded, even without, obviously, if you had Acuna, your teams are golden.
Right.
But there was the if you started an Atlanta stack later in the draft, it still had a ton of value last year. So that was something I was trying to do more this year. Like when you're drafting, I don't know about you, but when I'm drafting, I start and I take that guy at the top, and then I start stacking guys with those first couple of picks. And then as I get through the draft, I start adding in other stacks of worse offenses. And like that's kind of just like the thought how I go through a lot of drafts. So in this case, I wanted to do more of starting good offensive stacks later in the draft.
Okay.
So like Dodgers, I don't know, Baltimore maybe. I don't know who else do I have. Well, I guess I took Gunnar Henderson quite a bit, but like getting in the Mountcastle and Hayes maybe as part of a mini Baltimore, just trying to get good offenses later too.
Yeah, and I see you and I we're pretty much even on Tatis as well. One guy we were really different on is was it Julio? Did I see Julio? Yeah, Julio Rodriguez. You're at like 12% on him. I don't think that I drafted him a single time this year. And that is very concerning, especially since last year he was the guy you almost had to have on your team in like the first and second round of the playoffs to make it out. But it's just, I just made the choice. I'm going to draft one of those first three guys, Acuna, Soto, Judge. If any of them fall further, I'm drafting them. I don't care if Julio's there, whatever. And then Judge's abdominal injury happened, and now he's fallen to like 6, 7, 8. I'm like, I'm just going to keep taking Judge. So again, it's not so much like I don't like Julio Rodriguez. It's just I would rather have Judge. I would rather have Ohtani. I would probably rather have Tatis just from a ceiling perspective, which may wind up biting me because Julio Rodriguez is very, very good at baseball. So, and then of course you've got Wyatt Langford there at 11%. So Brad likes you way more than he likes me, and that's fine.
Yeah, that was another change in my overall draft year. You'll see I do have Jackson Churio up there too at almost 13%. Just embracing the risk more than I had in last year in prospects that really were at the top of the prospect list. I didn't go deep. I didn't go into like the Colt Keith territory type stuff.
Yeah, I'm usually like I'm kind of I've been saying I'm more on like Cardi's side kind of when it comes to prospects where I have a really hard time buying into them, but Wyatt in that offense is absolutely a guy who could just bury me for fading him. When he started rising to like the 50s and like the 60s and 50s and sometimes 40s, I was like, I've just kind of made my bed here. I'm just gonna hope he doesn't completely torch me. So that's kind of where I'm at with him now.
The thing with Wyatt is that even in the really small whatever sample, he still projected well, which never happens. Even the bat had a really great projection relative to how it treats prospects normally. So that really helped me get comfortable with it. And then Churio was more because I knew I was looking at Hoskins not as much in this as the bullpen, but Adames and Contreras and Sal Frelick I was fine tacking on at the end. So part of the Churio was getting overall Brewer stacks too, even though he doesn't project as well, and is still quite young.
Yeah, we got John in the chat here. He has 41%. Josh Young felt like the easiest click. Like I started getting more of him. I liked him early, and then he started to rise, and I was like, okay, it's fine. Then he got hurt, and then he dropped, and I feel like people didn't realize that he's probably going to play on opening day. Like he's looking good. And so his ADP never recovered. So I was getting a lot of Josh Young late in the draft at the same time that I was trying to pump up Corey Seager. So I think I've got a lot more Texas stacks later, unfortunately, without Wyatt. But I at least have exposure to an offense that's going to be pretty elite. So
yeah. And, I did, if we want to talk, like, I think the Michael Harris price is wrong. Like, he was probably cost too much. But for whatever reason, I just got in my head this year that I want to be ahead of his like super breakout year. So like I was taking him over Trout, I was taking him over Randy or Rosarena, and like I don't feel comfortable about some of the decisions, like taking him over Pete Alonso. I know a lot of people are big on him, and like that could really end up being a big point shift for me. But something about him this year, I just like he's 23 years old. He hits the ball hard, and like I'm just ready for the breakout. So I loaded
So
up.
you're the guy who was forcing him up the board, because I noticed his ADP jumped or it felt like it jumped quite a bit in the latter parts of these drafts, where he was getting a little too expensive. But I'm with you. Like I just didn't want to miss. I didn't want to miss the breakout season that's eventually coming. So
Yeah.
One more guy will. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then the other guy there at the top, Young-Hoo Lee, very very similar to Shota in that. Don't know what he's going to be. San Francisco kept adding guys around him. Could put him with Chapman. Put him with Soler. Lead off, probably just a contact low power guy. Not necessarily the profile that we're targeting for best ball, but another similar to Imanaga, the range on his outcomes seemed higher to me than what he was going at.
Yeah, he's and this is so like fascinating, just kind of seeing like we've been drafting pretty much all year, and just like seeing your second highest owned outfielder, and then when I search his name, it's blank for me. So I have none. And that's more of like you said, he's kind of like Stephen Kwan, right? Where he's just, there's not much power there, but he's going to get a lot of base hits, might steal some bases, doubles, triples, stuff like that. And that's a good ballpark for extra base hits. But I just felt like he's a guy that's not going to bury me.
Sure.
So I feel okay fading him, but I think he's going to be a fun player to watch. So,
yeah.
All right. Structurally, did you have a preferred build that you landed on like the huge majority of the time, or do you have kind of varied, 776, 677, whatever?
Yeah, almost all 776. Huge majority. Like I didn't keep track this year. I didn't name my drafts. I didn't keep track of my stacks. I didn't keep track of my structures because I don't know. I just never, the last few years, I didn't really find any use in that. Maybe I'm not doing enough self reflecting as I draft and looking at these things, but yeah, just so my gut call is like mostly 776.
I think 776 is probably like that. Always felt optimal to me. My favorite build, like the one I had the most fun doing, usually was 686. I felt like every team I built that was a 686 was just fun. I don't know if it was any good, but it was fun. But 776 felt right. Brad chiming in. More Wyatt talk. Man, we will see, my friend. I'm worried about not having much of him, but we'll see what happens. Ben chiming in, 776 too chalky. I don't care about constructions being chalky.
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah, I think that you could talk yourself into 5 pitcher builds being good because the field's not doing it. But I just like the safety net of the balanced. Like I'm
I
trying
agree.
to win, but I'm also trying to not totally blank and have some money for playoff best ball too.
Right. Well, I mean, there is something that said you do need to advance, right? You need to get out of your pod, and then from there, just kind of whatever happens, happens. But um, it really, it really felt like 776 was the right way to go. Ben asking, "What if late outfielders is what you need?" If it is, I might be in trouble because I feel like the late outfielders I was drafting are bad. Like my Joey Meneses percentage is like borderline embarrassing, and I don't know how it happened. I'm at 14% on him, and that is just truly a mystery to me. I don't know. I figured he was going to play every day, but then I forgot like the Nationals signed these bad outfielders, left-handed outfielders who might take at bats away. So I don't know. I don't know. Brad is dead if you need late outfielders because he did a lot of 5 outfield builds, which are fun. John asking, who's the one player you wish you had more or less of? Sheep, do you have anybody off the top of your head? Because I've got a couple if you need to think about it.
Let's see. Just quickly glancing at this list, the one that I maybe wish I had less of is Brandon Pfaadt, which is not a happy thing to say. I know there's a lot in the chat are big Pfaadt supporters. Just with the Montgomery signing, if Erod comes, I just don't know where he ends up in that rotation, and like part of it was the small amount of good that we saw last year, and now I'm far enough removed from when he was good that I'm hoping he's good again.
Yeah, I think the guy I wish I had more of was like if I had to pick a singular target is Corey Seager. I just feel like his price got way lower than it should have, and then it never really recovered. So I would definitely like a lot more Seager. As far as guys I want less of, I think I just hit it. Joey Meneses, I don't know how I got to 14%. Like I wish that number was like 6, but I don't know. He was just always there. It was like, okay, here's a body who will get at bats as my 6th outfielder, and that was, like if Joey Meneses is your 4th outfielder, you're probably mega super dead. But as a 6th outfield option, I don't know. I just kept clicking his name for some reason. So
yeah, I think I'm just scrolling down here. Someone I wish I had more of. Actually, let's go with the team. The Phillies.
yeah,
I'm dangerously low on the Phillies this year, and that does not feel good because that outfield or that lineup is the same. They're returning like every single player, and it should be good again. And in previous years, again, that was a team that I had a ton of. So I don't know if I wish I had more, but I don't feel comfortable with how little I have. Is probably a better way to put it.
I think that's a good pull. I wound up with basically 10% Bryce Harper, and that's actually a little lower than I thought it would be. But that he just felt like a guy who could potentially put up first round value,
Sure.
in the second round, and
Yeah.
especially in that offense. So, all right, let's just so I don't want to take up too much of your time here, Sheep. So why don't we go ahead and pivot and we'll do a draft over on Draftkings. You want to hop into the $20 together?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, let me get that tab shared.
I'm entering 6 out of 12.
All right, there we go.
All right,
7 out of 12.
That worked.
Cool. I don't think I've ever drafted a best ball contest on DraftKings on my desktop, so we will see how this goes.
Feel good. Well, don't worry. It's a reasonable interface that you can see all the things that you need to see on the screen when you want to see them. You're never going to be scrolling down in the player pool and you can't see if it's your turn or not yet. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's And the DraftKings is just so much different than Underdog, and we'll really get into it. I think Ben here wishes he had more Tyler O'Neill. Or wait, no, that's O'Neill Cruz, I bet, right?
I would assume
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, probably, because who, I don't know. Billy asking, will they be streaming any dailies? Probably not, because I can't really stream until nighttime, and like the dailies have already started by then. So I think I'm out.
Not announced, but I will be doing this Friday on the Sheep Seats. We'll be doing some. Be doing the After Dark slate. I think we're gonna draft that.
Sweet.
And I
Awesome.
have a guest coming on for that who just reached out to me on Twitter early in the season, and I forgot to get back to him. So he's going to come on. I can't even remember his name right now, but yeah, I'll have a guest, somebody who's new to the Underdog world this year and was excited about it, and then I accidentally blew him off and forgot to get back to him. So yeah, he's gonna come on. We're gonna talk about. He does some like photography for baseball too. So talk about that.
Cool.
Talk about his first year on Underdog and draft some late night slates. But I'm the same way. I can't stream during the day, so I can't really do the big daily contest. But we'll do some After Dark this Friday.
Yeah, I might do like a weekend stream every once in a blue moon, like a Saturday or something. I might do something like that. But
oh, by the way, your snake draft is filled.
It has filled. It's going to start
filled.
soon, guys. Even though it starts in 25 seconds, I'm getting a notification. You and I are right next to each other, which is pretty hilarious. So I'm in the 3 and you're in the 4.
I'll tell you, I like a later spot on DraftKings more than Underdog.
Yep.
Because I think there's some values there.
Yeah, our guy Ben here sitting in the 9 hole, which is a great spot. DraftKings definitely feels like. Well, first off, one of the major differences on DraftKings is there's no flex position. So you get your top 3 scores from your pitchers, your top 3 scores from your infielders, your top 3 from your outfield, and no flex. I am going to go ahead and draft Juan Soto. There we go. I'll let you make your pick.
And this is really tough. On Underdog, this is Aaron Judge for me. I have done that a lot on DraftKings. So I think I'm actually going to do this as a diversification thing and go with Julio.
Nice. Smart.
I do think Ohtani and Judge, one of those two, is probably the pick.
Yeah, they're mispriced in ADP. Aaron Judge is 8th, which is like 7.9 is his ADP, which is genuinely hilarious to me. But DraftKings very much feels like, to me, when I load up on infielders early, those feel like the best teams because there is an absurd amount of outfield value on this platform. Is that kind of how you've been approaching your builds too?
No, I wouldn't say that I have, but I definitely know why you feel that way. And maybe that was a misjudgment, or not a misjudgment, but old habits die hard sort of situation. Just drafting Underdog so much, I might just have a weird mindset.
And two, the playoff format, it's a 2-week. It's a 2-week score thing. It's not like a week and then it resets like on Underdog. So I almost feel like it's even more important, especially at the infield, because it does dry up relatively quickly. At least it feels like it to me. I feel like it's more important to have like 3 really, really solid outfielders who can kind of go crazy for a 2-week period as opposed to just a 1-week period. I think that makes a big difference to me.
Sure. Yeah. But like, then you get Tatis, Tucker starts on the end too.
Right. Yeah. That's really difficult to say no to. I mean, if I got this combination on Underdog, I'm throwing a party for myself the next day. Like,
no, you're drafting all draft and worried you're going to screw it up.
Correct. Yeah. You pull that team, you're just like, all right, how am I going to mess this one up? So,
ooh,
boy, that is an early Ellie De La Cruz.
Go Blue is going. He's going off the reservation.
He is. He really is. Ellie. Ben's just out here doing his thing, you know. I'm sure you'll be happy to know, Ben. I will be watching the Tigers game tomorrow. I will not be watching the White Sox game. I will be watching the Tigers game tomorrow. Because, yeah, I can't believe it. Opening day is tomorrow, man. It's I take it off every single year. I'm gonna make the most obscenely large plate of nachos for myself. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's go with Robert.
Alrighty.
And just because you were denigrating your White Sox, we'll take him here.
I almost made it entire stream. Actually, I'm kind of proud of myself. I almost made it a whole stream without raging against them. I'm trying to work on that for myself. I went ahead and went Trey Turner there again. Okay. I want to try to get I want to get out ahead of what I perceive, maybe I'm wrong, to be kind of an infielder cliff on this site. I've got Juan Soto, who's just going to give me a score every single week. So I just want to try to get out ahead of this infielder run that will eventually happen here.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Henny Penny's comment there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's smart. It's good planning, Henny Penny. Yeah, Ben, Benetti is the GOAT. Yes, absolutely. I will enjoy hearing his voice on your broadcasts. And let's go ahead and pair Trey with Pete Alonso.
Okay, so not Schwarber with him there?
No, I don't. I just don't care as much about stacking on DraftKings as I do on Underdog. I still care, but I don't know, this infield. I just feel like the infield falls off a cliff, and I just want to have like 2 or 3 guys that I know I can really count on over a 2-week sprint. Sure. Admittedly, I do not do the same anywhere near the same volume on DraftKings. I think I maxed out one of the $4 tournaments. I think I'm up to like 45 drafts or something, counting this one on DraftKings, and that's probably going to be it. But
I will warn you that Rocco, the guy who got first and second last year on DraftKings, was from overstacking. So
interesting. Okay.
All right. Definitely the opposite result, or the expected result that we always hope for on Underdog did happen last year, and he had some brave stacks that just went off in the playoffs.
And maybe I'm like, we were I was talking about this on X, like a little thread with, I think it was Cowboys 5 Rings was chatting with us there. And my initial thoughts were, because it's a 2-week sprint, a stack is, I would think, less likely to go off over that extended period of time. So I would thought it might be less valuable, but I could be completely wrong. I'm still trying to figure out how to play DraftKings version of this.
Yeah. And like, will it happen again in the next 5 years? Like, probably not the same person winning first and second on similar builds. I think the likelihood is low, but that is sort of the thesis of stacking. It came to fruition. We saw it.
Yeah, I would not fault anybody for doing it. I definitely don't think that stacking is wrong by any means. I don't know. Maybe I'm just viewing it through the wrong lens. Brad Wyatt went at in the second pick in the 4th round. So, what pick number is that? How do I see that? 40. Oh wow, he went in the 30s over here. That's kind of wild. It's a little early.
Yeah, and part of stacking on DraftKings for me is I don't have enough draft reps in on the site that I don't know offhand the ADPs of guys. So part of what helps me stack an underdog is knowing where guys are going to be in the future, and I know that I'm less in tune on that, so I also end up less stacked on DraftKings. Just more of a brain power sort of result.
I kind of have the same lean. Henny Penny's asking, how much did you guys raise Guardian guys ADP for their 14 games in the finals? None. I didn't. I'm pretty much out on the Guardians. Like Josh Naylor's like the only guy that I drafted, which took some pretty serious convincing by Nez. Not that Nez was trying to convince me, but just watching their streams, I just kind of came around to him. I'll shut up and let you make your pick. Sorry. Bichette?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the best values the last couple of weeks on both sites, I think. Bo Bichette. Like, just feel like he's undervalued.
I think I'm going to do something a little different here, and I think the clock's going to expire on me. We'll see. I'm going to try to take Kevin Gosman. Let's see if it works. Okay, cool. Good.
Got him.
Having the clock glitch over here, too. Yeah, Kevin Gosman feels too cheap over here. That's it. That's all I got. Pretty simple.
Yeah,
where were you at on the Snell thing?
I didn't get too much of him until I probably reacted to the signing just like everybody else. I don't know. I don't know if I played Snell right this year.
I just, we look at what he did last year, and yeah, Snell is very much like a Jekyll and Hyde type of pitcher. But the dude won the Cy Young last year. Like he's got limitless upside, and it felt like nobody cared for a long time. And I found that weird.
All right. And well, you picked their answer Henny Penny's Henny and Penny. Yeah.
Henny and Penny.
Answer their question. I did not look at schedule at all this year, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I didn't lean into it too much this year. But if there's a team to adjust, it would be like, the Braves are already expensive, but if they have the most games in the finals or whatever, it's like, okay, I want to draft even more Braves. The Guardians are not that team. Like they just have a bunch of decent hitters, floor guys. Of course, Jose Ramirez, I think, was a little too cheap this year. But outside of him, I had and even then, not too much interest in him. But outside of him, I had virtually no interest in that offense outside of Naylor.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the way things played out last year, one of the most important parts of the schedule, those an extra game for Atlanta and New York Mets that came from a rain delay from early in the season, and we saw like Coors just fall flat in the schedule. So I don't know. I just sort of saw how it went last year and maybe went too far in the opposite direction and just decided not to look at schedule like at all.
Yeah, I don't think it matters as much in baseball as it does in football, obviously, because football is just one game. So over the course of 2 weeks, like obviously, I think if you're going to have really solid offenses in like Citizens Bank Ballpark and or excuse me, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Fenway, Coors Field. Like those are parks that kind of want to target, but that's not going to be, it's not going to be what guides my decision. It's like a tiebreaker type of thing for me.
Yeah, and like I don't know, the teams that play the majority of their games in good ballparks, it's already built into how I think about the team and how I think about the projection and how those numbers come out. So I just felt like maybe some double counting on some teams. And then like trying to find the right team that's going to be at good places each week. I don't know.
Right.
And again, it might have been just a brain power thing in general for me this year that I didn't want to think about it. Like there's some amount of taking shortcuts that I think like I personally need to do just to make it through the draft and be able to draft for the whole 4 months and feel like I'm making good teams the whole time. Like I can't look at everything.
Right. Yeah. It is a lot of extra effort. Henny and Penny saying the play is Guardians starting pitchers may get 3 starts in the finals. True. But again, they don't really have like ceiling pitchers, like unless Shane Bieber returns to what he was a couple years ago. Tristan McKenzie's a huge question mark. Gavin Williams, kind of a K per inning guy. Logan Allen, same thing. Like, so they don't really have any pitchers. I'm like jumping up and down to like get 3 starts out of in the finals. So I'm not really adjusting them for that. But that's a decent point. Looks like you're on the clock, so let's knock out a pitch here real quick.
And for me, like who knows who's going to be the starters when we get to that point in the season for any team. Yeah. Who knows what the rotation is going to be like? I don't know. No, yeah.
Let's take a quick second here to recap the teams as we're through 6 rounds here? Yeah. So right now I've got Gausman and Cease as my pitchers. Infield is Trey Turner, Pete Alonso, and then the outfield is Soto and Yelich. And then Sheep, what do you got going on so far?
You gotta go to the drop down. If you go back to where you're at, you're about to pick.
Gotcha. True. Here we go. Devers, Bichette, infield, and then Julio, Robert, and then Ryan Reynolds and George Springer in the outfield. So you kind of got loaded up on outfield here early. I like that. Let's just keep, I think, playing the hits here. I'm just going to kind of load up on pitchers early and see what happens here and just do kind of a strong pitcher build. So I'm going to add Grayson Rodriguez to this staff that's kind of looking pretty crazy already.
All right. Yeah, there's definitely some pitchers on the board there that I liked when I took Springer, but there's this cluster here is a really nice pitching cluster. So I knew somebody was coming back.
Yeah,
I would be hating, and I got a good value on Kirby. Even though in general I've been more on the side of Kirby and Gilbert need to be closer together in ADP. Especially on Underdog. They are closer here, but I've been taking Gilbert over Kirby. But I'll take the value here. Not that I dislike Kirby, just.
Yeah, I kind of baited him on Underdog. It was just an upside thing. Guys going around him were like Snell and Cease and Luzardo, Peralta, these guys with like big strikeout potential that he hasn't really flashed yet. He needs a pretty substantial jump in strikeout stuff. I think he's going to be an awesome real life pitcher. I just didn't really buy into him excelling in this particular format over on Underdog specifically, because I just don't know if he just can't strike out guys at the same clip that those other guys do.
Yeah, and the bet and all the smart pitching analysis say that he is going to strike out more guys this year, and that's why they're on top of the elite ratios for Roto. That he's going to get that increased strikeout from changes that he started to make last year and continued to make in the offseason. So,
yeah, Noah here is asking about my highest owned on DK. I gotta apologize again. Like I said, this is my first draft on my desktop with DK, and I don't want to navigate off and struggle to get back. But even without looking, I will tell you, I have to have an absolute ton of Taylor Ward, James Outman, probably a lot of Tyler O'Neill. Unfortunately, a lot of Eloy. There are a lot of late outfielders on this format that feel like kind of smashes. And because I'm doing fewer drafts on this platform, I think I'm going to intentionally just condense my ownership and just hope I'm right. So if I end up with 70% Taylor Ward, I don't care. Just gonna hope that winds up working out for me.
Yeah, so I just pulled up. I've got about 20 myself between $4 and the $20. And there's, I'll call them out here, whatever, while we're drafting. But the guys that are always there at the way later is Hunter Brown and Willie Adames. I'm drastically high on those two. They just last, or they're just always there when I see them, I grab them.
Okay, I got mine up. Vinny Pasquantino is my highest owned guy at 40% right now.
Oh yeah, I have 42 of him too. So
yeah.
Okay, this is tough here. Churrio's hanging out here. I'm pretty loaded on infielder or outfielder. So I'm actually going to go a little off the board here, and normally not taking Nolan Arenado, but
okay.
I did start slower on infield than like you were talking about. So I think he's a good, bounce back type candidate he could be going, he could return a bunch of value if he has one of his, good seasons.
Yeah, he feels like definitely a potential bounce back candidate. Like Arenado's a very, very good player. I'm back on the clock here. Let's live a little. Let's live in a world where Byron Buxton plays like 70 games and they happen to be at the right time. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with Byron Buxton and just smile through the pain if he gets hurt again.
You're definitely supposed to be telling yourself a better story than that when you're taking Byron Buxton.
I refuse to do that. I acknowledge the reality, and I'm just gonna hope. It's been 7 years of him being in the majors and not being able to stay on the field. So let's have year 8 kind of be the year, but not like a lot because they don't have much of him on Underdog, and I'm more concerned with my bags over there, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I did not get to him much. I think he's reached the age that I don't care about that as much.
Yeah, it just, it's so unfortunate. I hate to see guys who are mega talented in any sport, just their bodies just fail them, And I mean, Buxton's on the short list of most disappointing careers due to his body just betraying him.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So let's take some stock here. My team right now is a 4-2-3 build. I think I like 8-6-6 builds over here on DraftKings more than I do on Underdog. It's either 8-6-6 or 7-7-6 is what I'm always shooting for here. What have you been leaning towards over here?
I've definitely built with the comfort of knowing I can go 8-6-6, but usually end up the way my flow usually goes is a lot of outfield early, and then mix in some infield and pitcher. But then I feel like pitcher falls off more on here than infield does personally. So I usually end up getting to 7 pitchers while I'm sitting at like um, 5 infielders. So then I just take 2 infielders late.
I agree with that. That pitching falls off quicker than infield does. Outfield, it feels like outfield here almost feels like infield on Underdog, where there's always a guy. There's always a guy that you can fill in.
And I am going to be taking my 5th outfielder here. We're going to take Jordan Walker to go with that Arenado pick.
I like it. And then I'm going to go ahead and go with Spencer Steer. Just kind of feels like a safe-ish floor kind of guy who's, I mean, for sure, right, going to play every day. I mean, Matt McClain, may his shoulder rest in peace, had surgery today, so he's going to be out for a very, very long time, which means all of these Reds guys who we were questioning their playing time clarifies their pictures a little bit more. So Steer,
sure.
Candelario, Christian Encarnacion Strand, even Jonathan India probably makes them a little bit more palatable because it just kind of feels like we can project more innings for all of those guys.
Yeah. Can you imagine if they had traded India, how they'd be feeling right now? Like,
yeah, that would have been very unfortunate. And I didn't even mention the Noel V. Marte suspension.
Yeah. And like, people want to talk about, the Orioles should trade for pitching, but like, just look at this, you're on the clock, but look at this, look at what happened to the Reds this year. And like, why couldn't that happen to them? And then they'd be wishing they had, like, they added to pitching anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I definitely kind of get that mindset.
I went ahead and went with Rodon there. I'm just going to keep playing the hits.
Yep. Another hit for me here.
There you go. Hunter Brown. God, I love him this year. It feels like kind of I started to see a little bit of chatter about him on X in the last couple of weeks, but it kind of feels like he was forgotten about. And that dude can strike out people in bunches. So he's like a cheaper Hunter Green, you know?
Well, I think even more so, he's not a throw it to the limit Hunter Green. Like, he's
true.
Again, this is going back to what I was saying about Grayson, is like the style of pitcher he is, in my mind, holds up better than Hunter Green. These guys that blast the ball. Like, part of my reluctance of climbing aboard the Cole Reagan's hype train was that he threw it too fast.
Okay.
Like he added so much velocity that like it's just a recipe for injury in my mind. And like, I could be totally off, and he's a guy that could really kill me this year. But there's just like a certain style of pitcher that scares me. Same thing with like looking at like the Bryce Miller versus Brian Wu decision. Unless you're taking them both, like I was Miller over Wu just because of the type of the way that Wu throws the ball. And so like, I'm not like a super big like scout or anything, but just listening to enough content, you kind of pick up on some of these guys that have some weird deliveries, or they like have a pitch that they throw that's weird that might affect their body weird. So I don't know, just I could be way off, but that's just another thing that I've started taking into account.
Yeah, there's somebody, I can't remember who it was, but there was a little bit of potential research showing that these guys who throw the ball very, very hard with a lot of spin on the ball, are more, more injury prone or more likely to be injured. I don't know how much, stock there actually is in that, but if that were to be the case, then that goes right along with what you just said. Being concerned about these guys who throw really, really hard, being more injury prone. I totally understand that line of thinking. Real quick, I want to go back to the chat here. Nez, thanks for stopping in, man. Always appreciate you coming in. We've got another Carlos Rodon lover here. I'm with you on the Carlos Rodon love. And then Noah asked, would you rather have Corbin Carroll, Judge, or Alvarez? Out of that list, I'm going to take Judge almost every single time. But in order, it would be Judge, Alvarez, and then like both of them would have to be hurt for me to take Carroll. Like they're so clearly above him for me.
Yeah. Carroll again for me comes down to body. And maybe this is a bias, but he's just not a modern day. I don't know if this would make sense. A modern day traditional player that I like that succeeds in the game. He has the weird shoulder stuff, and we definitely saw last year that did affect him after he re-injured it. So part of my Carroll fade this year was body related also.
I could totally see that. Yeah, that shoulder was obviously an issue last year. And quite honestly, when he hurt himself in, what was it, July, I want to say, I thought he was toast. I guess, the joys of being 22 or however old he is, like being able to like rip your shoulder apart and then like 4 days later you're just good. But
but he didn't hit the same after that.
No, he definitely didn't. He absolutely did not. I want to point out to everybody in chat that Ben is going to be rich. He will be purchasing a yacht because he just bet Rodon Cy Young at plus 3,500. So congratulations on being rich, Ben, because we're going to will it into existence. God, do you understand how unbearable I'm going to be if that happens? Like, just truly miserable existence having to deal with me if Carlos Rodon somehow wins the Cy Young. I mean, the degree of dunking is going to be, and like, obviously I'm kind of kidding, but he was the first pitcher I saw this year who I thought was potentially massively inefficiently priced just because of the talent that he has. And so I would love to have gotten him correct, not because I care about being right on player takes. I couldn't care less about that. I just want to win. So if I'm right and he snaps, I'm gonna be in really good shape.
For sure. I am disappointed there that Varsho went. I was hoping to get him back. So let's pivot a little bit here. And get a Vinny P. But yeah, this if you look at my team after you pick, this is exactly what I was talking about. How my drafts usually go is I've got, at that point I had a 5-3-5 build going. So this is how I ended up with 7 infielders. Is there's this group of pitchers there, like you can see I took like however many, did I take 5 in a row? 4?
Yeah, you took 4 out of 5. Yeah, 4 out of 5 picks were pitchers.
Yeah, so that's how I have been ending up with the 7-7-6 build still here, even without the flex.
I feel like I leaned a little bit too hard into my prioritizing pitching and infield because this outfield I'm putting together is like borderline tragic. Because because it is currently Soto, Yelich, which feels fine, Buxton, who's, I don't know. And then, of course, Taylor Ward, because I only have 38% of him, and I need to get more because he's horrifically priced on this platform. So let's see. I probably need another outfield. Let's do a little bit of scrolling and see who's here. I'm just going to take Tyler O'Neill. He's another guy that I've been clicking pretty much nonstop. And I'm not like huge into, Tyler O'Neill. I have clicked his name quite a bit this year because I do think there's some really good potential, not only just him as a player, but also in that ballpark. Like Fenway is a beautiful ballpark for people to hit in. So he's another guy though who just can't stay on the field. I want to see what he can do if he can play 130 games. We'll actually be able to see if he's good or bad, and then we'll know.
Yeah. Like how much is it change of scenery was necessary for him? Because last year he did not get along with Ollie Marmol. So
yeah, no, I don't think.
Why did Ollie Marmol get an extension?
I have absolutely no idea. So I'm originally from Central Illinois.
Okay.
And there's two teams that exist. There's the Cubs and then there's the Cardinals. And yes, I know the White Sox exist, but they don't really there. But the Cardinals fans are crazy down there. And I like every Cardinals fan that I've talked to, friends or whatever, what in the hell are we doing here? I don't understand that. I don't think Ollie Marmol is good at all. And for him to get an extension was just kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, there's so many decisions last year that just did not make any sense. Take out the performance aspect of it. How much does a manager affect performance? Probably very little, right? But just the weird situations and decisions that came up through the course of the last season between, sending
the Contreras thing,
Walker down, the Contreras thing, having just messing with the outfield, who's playing where, I don't know. It's crazy. But
yeah,
I guess the idea that they didn't want a lame duck manager, they can still fire him technically. So
I guess.
I don't know.
I don't either. It's mystifying.
It was odd to say the least. All right.
Don't do it.
I don't know. We'll just take Reed Detmers. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. It's like this point of the draft on DraftKings, I just feel like, I've gotten my first 15 picks out of the way, and then the last 5 rounds, just I don't know. I'll just click this guy's name. At this point, I've just kind of lost interest almost. But I wanted to take Contreras. I was hoping you wouldn't take Contreras there because I wanted to stack him with I have Adames and Yelich. So that felt like a nice little snipe. Let's check in on the chat real quick for our next pick. Ben's paying for his house with Rodon and his yacht with Pivetta. I like that. Although they're both in the AL, so you're going to have to explain that to me. One of them gets traded, wins it in the NL. There you go.
There you go.
Yep. Fried, Kirby, Framber, Webb, or Cease. Who's my favorite out of that? This might be kind of a homer take, but I think Cease just has a ton of upside still. So I would probably be partial to
it's
him
your pick there, bud.
In that list. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure out who I don't want to draft, but I'm going to click anyway. Brendan Pfaadt was the name there.
Okay. I don't know, totally unstacked here, but we'll take a Carlos Correa here. Why not?
Yeah, he's a little too cheap. I mean,
Could be
we
way too
have
deep.
officially, like, are you seeing this round? We have officially, like, the shark is 40 feet below us. We've jumped it so hard. We've got a 17th round Garrett Crochet, then Paul Skeens. And we've got Ryan Noda in the 17th round, along with Jose Siri. Like, what are we doing? This is wild.
To go back to that question, I guess Kirby and Roto, and probably Fromber in best ball.
Yeah, Fromber is just like, God, that guy's just very, very good at pitching. Like he's just so consistent. Like every time he goes out there, you're like, he's gonna get me a score, you know?
Yeah,
Very reliable.
I do think
And
he did have a period last year where he wasn't.
true.
You know, a year and a half outside of that, it was, and then he got it back. So yeah, I don't know what to expect exactly, but I'm out on Fried this year. He could certainly be the guy that you need out of that group, but just never been a big Fried guy, and just he hasn't stayed healthy either. So
yeah, I think he just had that one weird year where he couldn't stay healthy. I don't necessarily think that like he's injury prone per se. He's just like Fromber, where he's just kind of like he's very good, but doesn't really have like the strikeout upside. So he's safe, but I don't really know what that gets you. Lars Nootbaar. All right.
yeah, we're gonna keep the St. Louis stack going here.
Let's go ahead and let's just get some exposure to Austin Hayes. I don't have hardly any of him over on Underdog. So I've been trying to get him in a little bit over here. Trying to. I don't know if I've been successful, but if he plays every day, which I think might be kind of a big if, but if he plays every day, it feels like he might be a little too cheap.
Yeah. And again, you know, a couple injuries and he's playing every day for sure. I don't know. Yeah. Definitely a crowded situation. But the cost is good. And him and Mountcastle for me are just like good late Baltimore pieces.
Are the Orioles, because Ryan O'Hearn is still there, right? So are the Orioles gonna, take at bats away from Mountcastle to give to O'Hearn? That's like my big question mark number one. Question mark number two is that ballpark is horrible for right-handed power. So I totally see the merit, and he scored a lot of points for the number of at-bats he had last year, Mountcastle. It's just so hard for me to get to him.
Yeah, I get it. I just think he's a good hitter. And so I'm going to take him. And when I don't know, the Orioles are going to be competing. They're going to be playing the guys who are hitting, Ryan O'Hearn. I don't know how much you played DFS or anything, but even how much Ryan O'Hearn knowledge you have, but Ryan O'Hearn was a min salary guy in KC. By all means, the Baltimore could have unlocked something with him, but could he turn back into a pumpkin this year? Very easily.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. He's not like Ryan O'Hearn isn't exactly a guy that like scares me necessarily, but it's like if they really lean into the, the platoon splits,
sure.
Like, oh, there's a righty on the mound, so we need a left-handed bat, even if that left-handed bat is, bad. Like that's just an illogical decision, I think, is what kind of scares me off. Noah's asking, who are your favorite infielders from the 100s to 130s on DK? I got to be honest, my man. I'm going to have to like go back and look at who's in that range because I don't have enough drafts under my belt over here to even know who's in that range. But if you're giving me 4 names, Nico, Zach Giloff, Spencer Steer, and CES, I'm probably going to lean Steer. I think the most fun pick there is probably Christian Encarnacion Strand, though.
For sure. Absolutely. And as much as I want Geloff to be good, I'm just not taking any Hayes this year.
Yeah, it's probably a good decision.
Speaking of Hayes, there goes a Lawrence Butler.
Wow, that's a guy who plays baseball, I think.
I mean, the whole part of the latest, Estuary Ruiz down hype, but that's not a phrase that anybody's ever said in their life. But the downfall, I don't know what I'm trying to say. The news that he's might not even be starting on opening day, make the main roster is partially due to Lawrence Butler. So
okay,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse picks. You could take Garrett Crochet in the 17th. Let's see. Go ahead and leave this draft, and then I will go back in and try to recap what we did there. That was, it's weird for me, like doing a stream on a platform that I just have absolutely little experience with actually, drafting the product, but much less doing it on like my desktop is very disorienting. So I apologize if this hasn't been the smoothest stream in the world, but
it's hard enough to draft on stream to begin with. So
yeah.
It does look like Hen and Penny there did say that they were Tubby there.
Yes,
Tub by, and they were the one that went to Oakland.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate you, Henny, stopping by and drafting with us. Thank you so much for popping in. We will definitely check out your A's stack if I can ever get the lobby to load here.
Gotta go to contests,
yeah. Worst case scenario, I'll just pull it up on my phone. Apparently I need more RAM on my computer or something. And then we'll recap our individual teams, and then we'll take a look at Henny and Penny's here. While I'm waiting for this to load on my desktop, I'll just... Oh, there we go. I don't know what's wrong with my system here. So I'll just do a rundown of my team. So I drafted out of the 3-hole, and the pitching staff is Gosman, Cease, Grayson Rodriguez, Joe Ryan, Carlos Rodon, and Brandon Pfaadt. The infield is Trey Turner, Pete Alonso, Spencer Steer, Anthony Volpe, Willie Adames, Wilson Contreras, Matt Chapman. And then the outfield is Soto, Yelich, Buxton, Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, Austin Hayes, and Sal Frelick. I was really concerned about that outfield, but I think I kind of recovered okay. But I don't know. It's this is like the ultimate. I'm just clicking names platform. I feel like just trying to get it right structurally and hoping that my condensed ownership works out.
Yeah, and like I think your bets are good. You went Buxton, like you joked about 70 games, but like in this build, you're playing for a full season.
Right.
Ward, you're hoping that he lives up to projections finally. O'Neill, Hayes, Frelick, I think the guys you put together make sense. Is the outcome high? Maybe not, but
yeah, it's a lot needs to go right. I mean, mainly like Buxton has to stay healthy for me to even remotely have a chance for this team to make some noise, I think.
Yeah.
So how'd yours turn out?
All right. So my pitching staff, Kirby, Mitch Keller, Hunter Brown, Sonny Gray, Michael King, Reed Detmers, and Mackenzie Gore. Gore was someone I had been talking some trash on, and then kind of came around the last couple of weeks. He really didn't seem to rise with some of the other guys. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that for starting a bit later than most people. Maybe I could have gone in 8th. Then infielder Devers, Bo Bichette, Arenado, Vinny P, Justin Turner, Carlos Correa, and Wilson Contreras.
Nice little St. Louis stack.
Yeah, ended up with a nice St. Louis stack. So I got Newt Bar and Walker to go along with it. I definitely do think Wilson Contreras kind of got lost in the catcher, if you are willing to go with catchers. And again, that team's thinned out again this year with injuries. Like, he could end up DHing a lot too, and maybe he is. Oftentimes, if you're going by bat projections, he's often like a top daily hitter on that team.
That's true.
And then outfield, J-Rod, Robert, Brian Reynolds, George Springer, and Jordan Walker, and Lars Nootbaar. Maybe some overall health concerns with Reynolds back, Springer age, and then Nootbaar health. So
yeah, Nootbaar's going to miss a little time to start the season. Nothing crazy, right? Yeah. The Springer thing, I'm so out on him. If I could have negative Springer, I would. And it was just like more of a, especially on Underdog, there are guys after him that I would prefer, like Nemo, Teoscar, Castellanos, even Jazz. So, it just felt like he was mispriced all year to me. And I just don't really, I just kind of think we've seen the best of George Springer, and for him to pay off that price on Underdog, I just feel like is a pretty big ask. So that was kind of my stance on him over there.
Yeah, I get it. Here, put him with Bo Bichette, put him with Vlad on other lineups. That's usually how I ended up with George Springer on the lineup.
Yeah, I definitely feel better about your team than I do about mine. I got too enamored with the pitching and infield and had to recover a little bit of outfield. I don't know that it's gonna work, but that was fun. A little herky jerky, but I more than anything, man, I wanted to reconnect with you. You were gracious enough to have me on really early in my streaming infancy. And I really appreciate you and what you do for the community. Guys, if you can like the video, if you haven't already, please do that. Looks like we got 14 people in here. And like the video. If you can, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate that. This is probably going to be my last stream for quite a while because I'm not going to do much, if any, dailies content on Underdog. But I will definitely, once the 7th inning stretch or whatever it's going to be called, the end season contest rolls around, probably do some more of these. Are you kind of thinking the same thing, Sheep, when that contest rolls around? Are you and the Stacking Dingers boys going to do some stuff around that contest, I assume?
Yeah, we definitely have loose plans. I'll say that, but yeah, do want to keep going with that. Maybe I know Chris wants to do some sort of like futures type based show, so we might put together a few episodes of that. I'm pretty clueless when it comes to that. Maybe we'll get a guest or something for that with a little more knowledge. But yeah, I'll be rolling out sheep seats often. I don't know exactly. I'm going to kind of see how it played by ear, but we'll keep up that. And then once the in-season contest, we'll be back full time. But I do want to, you said I gave you a shot, but you were like last year, you were one of the biggest supporters of me. You're like in every stream chatting it up. So for me, it was just paying it forward on, what you had done to help, the conversation and stuff on my streams last year. So I appreciate
that. Yeah, you were the first person I ever watched in this space. I learned about the Badge Bros, and by extension, the community, a lot of which, have popped into my streams. Like, this wouldn't even be. I've got like 40 something subs, and that's like, if I had 42 subs, that's like 39 more than I expected to have at this point. And a lot of that's because of the community you've built, the community the Badge Bros have built. It's a very niche space. And it's been a ton of fun. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to stream with you a couple times, get to know you a little bit. I appreciate you for coming on, guys. If you have not yet followed Matt, you can see his tag there on the screen there at D4RKSH33P _ is where you can find him on X. He has a YouTube channel here where he does the sheep seats usually every Friday around 8 p.m. ish Central Time. Yep. So definitely check him out. And also, he's on the Stacking Dingers YouTube channel here. They do a lot of great MLB Best Ball content focused around Underdogs contests. I know we did a Draftkings draft tonight. It's only because all the contests are Underdog are filled, as we are at Christmas Eve. Opening day is tomorrow, guys. Sheep, I really, really appreciate you coming on. Get a shout here in the chat. Thank you so much for popping in, and it's been a ton of fun. Ben, I have absolutely no idea what Substack is, so just call me Brad because I'm a boomer. But this is where you can find me. You can find me on X at WooWooJTrain. Sheep, any final remarks you want to make before we head out?
No, I got a couple more drafts to do, a couple more tickets to use here and over on Drafters before that comes. And so I don't know. I still got to like shift over to draft some dailies tomorrow. I don't know if I even have the capacity to do that between now and then, but we'll see.
Yeah, I did one $3 daily today that I'm sure is just lighting money on fire. But just gonna try to learn that game too, and have fun throughout the baseball season. So, guys, thank you again for popping in. Everybody in the chat: Ben, Noah, Henny and Penny, Mihaela, Ricky. All of you guys. Brad earlier, Noah, Nez, means a lot for you guys to pop in here. You could do anything tonight. You chose to hang out with us. We appreciate that. So, myself, Matt, Dark Sheep, thank you guys so much. Not sure when the next one will be, but we'll see you there. Take care.